Hello there, nice meeting you again. Welcome to today's tutorial. Today's exercise is a very interesting one. We will be making these two bodies you see. Mind you, they are not the same. You can look at the rib angles. In this tutorial, we will be looking at two different ways of doing the same things. This is also an in-depth tutorial on how to create ribs. Please consider subscribing to this channel if you haven't done so yet and be part of the family. Let's begin with today's exercise. We'll begin with the first body, and so come up here on the top left corner, select new, or you can also use Ctrl plus N, and we'll select a standard MMIPT under the part file template and click on create. This body sits on top of the top plane, and to begin our sketch on that plane. Let's select the Start 2D sketch up here. I will choose the top plane or the XZ plane. Now, under the Rectangle tab, let's choose the 2-point center rectangle. Bring it to the origin here. I've always said you know you are there when that point turns green, which means you are starting at X0, Y0. So let's click and drag open. Let's not click yet. We are going to input our dimensions straight away using the dynamic input boxes. And so the height of this rectangle is going to be 100. You press tab key, and then the width is also 100, and then you press enter. Let's zoom in. You zoom in by scrolling up the scroll mouse button. You can finish the sketch, and let's zoom in again and extrude that profile using the extrude command. Here we are to specify some details, and so under the input geometry we would select the geometry we want to extrude, which has been correctly selected by default, and so that is fine. And then under the behavior we are to specify the direction we want the extrude to go. So by default the direction is up. If you want to change the direction to extrude down, you can click on the flip option, which is the second one. If you want the extrusion to go both ways, which is if you want it to be symmetric, you choose the symmetric option. And if you want the extrusion of one side to be bigger than the other, you can use the asymmetric option. But here we'll use the default option until the profile or the preview looks good until we OK. Now we would apply some fillet to the corners, and so the fillet command up here, we'll click on that and we specify the fillet radius. Here we would use a radius of 10, and so we specify that and we click on the corners we want to apply those fillets to, which will be all 4 corners. We can press OK. Let's create the holes, the 4 holes in the corners. And so let's click on this face. Let's create a sketch. Now we want to be able to use the midpoint of the circles that form the fillet. And to do that, we have to project this geometry onto the sketch we want to now make. So we click on the project geometry option and click on this face. Now we have the points or the center of those circles that formed the fillet. Choose the circle command so we can draw the profiles we would extrude to create the holes using these centers. We'll draw the first one. The diameter of this is 6. Press enter. We'll do same for all 4 corners. 6, enter, and then click and drag, 6, enter, and then the final one, 6, and then enter. You can go ahead and finish the sketch so we can extrude these profiles. The extrude command, the profiles, we have to select them. So this one, we would select that one, this, and that. but it is extruding join the profiles, which means it's adding material. We don't want that. We want to remove material. And so under the output here and the boolean, we'll choose the extrude cut option. We'll click on that, and then you see it cuts through it. We can't specify the distance of the cut, but here we want the hole to go through all that thickness, and so we choose the through all option and press OK. We want to create the profiles here. We would extrude to form the cylinder that sits on top of this profile. To do that, we click on this face, we'll create a sketch, choose the circle command. Let's draw our first circle. The diameter of this circle is 32. Press enter, and then we'll draw another one again. The diameter of this is 24. We'll press enter. We can finish the sketch, choose the extrude command. We want to extrude this part. The distance of extrusion, which is how high we want the extrusion to go, we can give it 20, then we'll press enter. But we realize that there is a hole in the middle of this. Let's do that because as at now looks closed. We'll choose that face, we'll create a sketch in there. We'll choose the circle command, bring it to the origin here. Let's draw a circle and snap it onto that inner surface. So we click there, we can finish the sketch and extrude cut that profile. So the extrude command, we want to extrude cut, and we want the cut to go through all. We can OK. Now let's create the ribs. Let us have a good isometric view of our sketch. For the ribs, we would have to draw on a plane. And so we will draw on the plane that is going right through the center of this body. Let's look at our planes here in the work tree. So we can use the XY plane. We'll click on that and we begin to create our sketch. The plane is lying or hidden in the center. So let's just use this option, which is the slice graphics. It cuts through that plane and we can see a sectional view of our body. Choose the line command. Let's draw the line we would be creating the rib with. So we draw it that way. You can right click. Okay, let's apply some dimensions. But before we apply the dimensions, right click. Okay, let's project the cut edges. So choose the second option under the project geometry. Great. Now we can choose the dimension command. The distance between this point and that one is 20. Enter. And then the distance between this point and that one is also 10. Enter. Go ahead and finish the sketch. And here we will be using this option, which is the rib option. We'll click on that. Let's move this away. The profile we want to apply the rib to is this. So we select that. We'll choose the second option here, which is parallel to sketch plane. And then again, this direction, which is the direction 1. We've seen a preview of it, but the thickness of the rib will change that to 5. And then we OK. So this is our first rib. We have 3 more to create. One here at 90 degrees to the first one, the other at 180 degrees to the first one, and then the other at about 270 degrees to the first one. We can use this option up here called the circular pattern option. Let's click that and see how it works. Here, it means we want to put this across a circular body. And so for the feature, we would select this one and then the rotational axis, which is the axis we want to put that rib around. We click on that and select this surface, and straight away we see a preview. Here under placement, we can choose the instances or how many of those reps we want to put across that circle. Here we can choose 4 and then we press OK. So there we go. Let me rotate this around so we see how it looks. It's as simple as that. Let's look at our second body, which requires us to put the ribs at an angle. For this second one, we are going to use an entirely different method from what we did before. And so let's click on the Start 2D sketch. We will be working on the XZ plane. Let's choose the 2-point center rectangle and bring it to the origin here. You click and drag and then click again. Choose the dimension command, click on the top line, you drag away and click again to specify the dimension. The width of this is 100. We'll press enter. Let's zoom in, pan down, and the height is also 100. We'll press enter. Here we would apply the fillet straight away. And so the fillet command up here, the fillet radius is 10, and we would apply the fillet to this line, this and that, this and that also, as well as this and that corner, and then we can finish the sketch. Let's zoom in and extrude that profile. The distance of extrusion will be 10, so we specify that the profile has been correctly selected, the preview looks good, so we okay. Now let's create those holes in the corners. But to do that, let's click on this face and right click to create a sketch. Let's project this geometry. So drop this down, choose the project geometry option so we can project this onto the face we want to sketch and use the centers of the radius to create our holes. Let's finish the sketch and create the holes with the hole option. So we select that and let's see how it works. We are going to be using the simple hole, and so we would select those points we want to make into holes. So all 4 of them. The diameter of these holes is 6 mm, and so you specify that. And we want the holes to go through the entire body, and so we select the through all option. The preview looks good and we will okay. Now let's create that cylinder sitting on top of this face. Select the face and we will make a sketch. Choose the circle option, come to the origin, draw the first circle of diameter 32, press enter, and then another one of diameter 24 and press enter. Let's finish the sketch and create the hole in the middle of this body. So the extrude command, let's select that profile, but it's going to be an extrude cut, and we want the cut to go through all or through the entire body. So we choose the through all option and then we click on the plus sign here so we can extrude this profile as well. We want the extrusion distance here to be 20, and let's flip the direction around to go up and we can okay. Now let's create the ribs. One heading towards the circle, the other one angled towards that hole as well. To do that, we have to introduce a plane. So drop this down. We will choose the angle to plane around edge option. Let's come here to the work tree. Click on the plus sign next to the origin. Choose the y-axis and then the YZ plane. Here we want to place the rib at 90 degrees, at 45 degrees, sorry. And so let's change the 90 degrees to 45. And then we can accept that. Let's click on this plane and create our rib. We can choose the sectional view here too. Before we create the rib, let's project the geometry. So drop this down, but we'll choose the project cut edge geometry. We choose the line option, and then we draw the line we will be using to create the rib. Let's dimension this. The distance between this point and the point where the line begins, we'll take that as, I think, 30 was what we did initially. I'm not too sure for the other one, but 30 is fine. And then between this point and that point, we'll give that also 10, and then enter. Go ahead and finish the sketch. Let's hide this plane. We'll click, right click, and turn off visibility. We don't need it anymore. We choose the rib option. Let's select this profile. We will choose the parallel to sketch plane option, and then we'll flip this around. The preview looks good. The thickness is 5, and so we okay. Now we can pattern this around to create the 4 or the 3 additional ribs we have. And so the circular pattern option, the feature is going to be this. The rotational axis, which is the axis we want to put the ribs around, will be this one. The instances we want 4 of them. And so we, okay, there we go. Let's even apply some colors. And so for the first one we did, we would give it an appearance of, I like the light red. Then for the second one, we will change the appearance to sky blue dark. That will be all for today's tutorial. I hope you have fun creating your own. Please consider subscribing to this channel if you haven't done so yet, and be part of the family. I'll see you in the next tutorial soon. Bye.